my first guest, I'm going in with networking right away, and I'm excited about having them on because I'm going to go with them for a whole entire hour. I don't do that very often on my show, but I thought I would do that as a little fun thing for today. Havie Bravo, who's the owner of Bravo Insurance Agency. You've been on my show for quite some time, and you come on usually every Thursday, the first Thursday of every month. You're on with Howie,
yeah,
and
the
that's
Howie
how,
and Howie show.
Yeah,
Right.
and but you also have, you kind of did some really neat things with your office and growing it to not only be for the older folks, but now you kind of brought in some younger folks. You have some people with you. I'm going to let you introduce them first because then I'm going to talk a little bit about them as well. Go ahead.
Well, thank you, Carol. And I am very proud to introduce Monique Backs and also her husband, Colton Backs.
Cashbacks.
That's right.
There you go.
They're wonderful young people, and they're coming into our agency and growing unbelievably fast. They're bright, very personable. They're going to be very, very helpful in us growing the younger crowd of our clientele.
Right, because when people think about life insurance and things like that, they think about the old folks, right?
Yeah, like
but
me.
that's not true, or me. But that's not necessarily the case. As a matter of fact, I want to talk a little bit about this young couple right now. First of all, we're high on we're high. We are high.
Wow, Carol.
Listen, I'm a child of the 70s. Anyway, but we're live on Facebook, so hi to everybody out there. Like us and follow us. We're going to be, sharing the show a little bit. But I want to talk about this young couple, okay? I've known them now, probably about almost 6 months at least. I don't remember how long you...
Maybe almost a year.
Monet had her own show here for a while, and I know that her husband now, at the time you weren't, but you used to come on the show, and then apparently they met and fell in love right on the air, and now they're married, but they're young. They're a young couple, and you got involved with also Havie, and you've found as a young, and I'm saying you're really young, I think you're like 22.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
That's young,
Yeah.
And you found the importance, this is where it's coming in, Havie, I got it coming around. You found the importance of having insurance at a young age, right?
Absolutely.
So much so that you actually, are really gotten involved with it where you're learning all about it and you're actually going to be, I think, or are actually getting people involved with it that are young like you, right?
Exactly.
So let's talk about you. Let's talk about why you think that what happened and what made you light up your eyes with all of this.
Of course. Well, I just want to say thank you to everyone, for having us on. I am so excited about how many people we're going to be able to help. And like you said, Carol, that's really why we're getting involved. Because young people don't know about these amazing products that we're going to be able to offer. And I think that, when young couples get married, it's scary. It's scary to think about, we have all these things that we need to start saving for. What happens if we do have kids? How do we get prepared ahead of time? Insurance is so expensive, not just life, but health, and it's intimidating. And so after we started this process with Havie and Howie, we learned how easy it can be with the right people. And so, again, I'm just so excited. I know Colton and I are both so excited to be able to offer this to young people, not just young people, but middle-aged people who don't think that they can be covered for some reason, who may have lost their jobs. And we're here to help pretty much anyone who just will open the door for us to be able to help them.
Yeah.
Well, also,
Well put.
I wanted to talk about something too. Young people today, I think, are so different. Like I forget it. I wasn't even thinking about that kind of stuff. I did want to get married. I did want to have children. I knew that. But I never thought about all the other stuff, things that are important, that even my ex-husband was even older than me, like 8 years older than me, and yet we never even had that conversation. But maybe once in the whole time.
Well, it's important to lay groundwork when you're young. So Colton and Monet here met with me and Howie. We did a little financial planning, and it blossomed from there. And Colton, tell me, was that process easy or?
Yeah, it was extremely easy. We spent about 10, 15 minutes where you kind of just learned about, my situation, which was now our situation. And basically we kind of laid out some different options that we could take financially once you had a picture of, my health, my finances, what we wanted to do, what we wanted to achieve. As a soon-to-be couple at the time, we actually weren't married yet. But we're planning for that, and it was very quick. In about 20 minutes, we knew pretty much what we wanted to do, and I had prices which were unbelievably affordable because we were getting started young. I was 24, about to turn 25, and for $550 a year, I got $1 million in life insurance coverage to protect my soon-to-be and now currently wife, which was a great decision, and she got life insurance to cover me, God forbid something happens to her, and we got the coverage that we needed, and then right back after that, it opened more doors. And next thing you know, I'm realizing my health insurance really isn't what it should have been. And a couple weeks later, we were working on that, and I now have a new health insurance program that's actually health insurance. Before that, I had like a Christian Healthcare Ministries group Medicare, medical sharing kind of a thing. And now I have actually solid insurance, which is great because a week later, I happen to have to go to the urgent care, and it worked out great because that was covered under a $25 copay. And I didn't even know, and the price I'm paying is like $115 a month. I was paying $174 before, and I thought that insurance was going to be like $300 and $400 a month because when I, in the past, had gone on Obamacare, that's what I was told. I didn't know there was other options. In 5 minutes, I found out there was lots of other options. It was great.
Right, and you found that our agency provided all these options in life insurance, health insurance,
huge amount
and
of
for
options.
investments, for like an IRA, for example.
Yep.
And it's really going to help you start saving for the future and save on your taxes now.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, at the time, and we're kind of diving more into that, we talked about different IRAs, and we're going to be probably setting up a couple IRAs for myself and then for my wife because, tax time is coming up, and we're business owners, so, we pay all of our taxes basically at the end of the year because we're 1099 employees, sole proprietors, but, why pay the government more money than you have to when you can put more money in your pocket into an IRA to save for your future?
Yeah.
It just doesn't make sense.
And basically, with the IRAs that we offer, you're taking money from one pocket and putting it in the other.
And
this is your own.
And generally getting a bonus of some percent matching, or at the end when you take it out, there's a percent bonus. Like you're multiplying that money also.
Right. And that's what I love about Havie and Howie is that it's more than just life insurance or health insurance. It really is financial planning, and they really have your back. And now we will as well. We really want what is best for you now and long term. And there's just so many options. One of the amazing things about Bravo is that he has all these carriers. When you go to like a Geico or State Farm, that's great, but they can't pull from as many places as we can. Mm-hmm. And that's what's so important is we can get you what you need for your needs personally.
Mm-hmm.
Well, what I was going to say about younger folks today is that, we think that that they don't talk and they're only on their phones all the time and they don't communicate very well and all of that. That's not true. There's a lot of people that I think that are the younger folks that are totally into, maybe they don't even want big houses, but they're very much wanting to plan and wanting to know what their future is going to look like. Because look what has happened in the past with the older generation.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right? Do you feel that way?
I do, and I mean, I'll be honest. I don't. I have a paper in front of me that has a bunch of statistics that I'm sure we'll get into later about how people feel about health and life insurance, and they're really interesting and they're amazing. And I don't have an official poll on this, but of the young people I talk to, I would say at least 75% believe that they will not get Social Security in their lifetime. And I think that's a sentiment that has only grown over time. And so people are even more incentivized to make sure they're planning for their own future with the thought that Social Security might not be there for them. And I think that's something worth considering.
We're going to go to a break, and when we come back, we're going to talk further about this because it's scary for a lot of people. There's a lot of people that aren't even young that think that way as well. Your phone number to call direct, it's 480-818-3665. Operators are always standing by. What I love about Havie and Howie, and I haven't worked with you yet, but I mean, when I work with you, you are unbelievably so attentive to me and to learning about me. And that's the way you are with every one of your clients. You're going to love working with them. They're about the nicest people I've ever met. Hang tight. We're going to be back in just a minute. We're going to keep going because we're live on everything in the room, so we can keep going a little bit.
Fantastic.
Okay, so I want to kind of also play up on the cash thing because when you talked a little bit about the money and the IRA, you kind of talked about life insurance, and then you went into doing the IRAs and stuff like that. Do you want to come back and talk more about the IRAs? What do you want to do? And then I want to play up on that with the IRAs, but whichever went.
Yeah, let's talk about the IRAs next because tax time's coming up, and
Okay.
then we'll go back to the guaranteed issue of health plans.
Yeah,
Okay.
let's do that.
That's
Because
awesome.
that could put you in financial jeopardy
Yeah.
and bankruptcy.
Yeah. Okay.
Medical bills. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, we'll focus on the IRAs. Do you want to talk specifically about the one that we're looking at right now with the whole 5% match?
5%. I brought the brochure too.
Sounds good. Perfect.
5% for 8 years.
For 8 years, yeah.
For any deposits you make.
Yeah.
I didn't really listen to that, so I don't really know. I heard one little
Well,
thing that I wrote down.
5% on any
Oh,
deposits.
that part. It's okay. Okay.
Yeah. That was great, guys.
Good.
Oh, really?
What's that?
That was great.
Yeah.
How they went.
Yeah, and that's I do want to. We might touch on that later with the whole like the planning without social because like I think planning, and just assuming that you're not getting Social Security is probably the way I think everyone should be planning. And then if you get it, great.
Right.
And that's just a bonus.
That's a cherry on top.
Yeah, that's awesome. But I think people need to be planning like they're not going to get it, or they're going to get maybe 30, 40%, because that cap's built in there. Social Security, I mean, probably my dad who's 55, he'll probably only get about 75% based on the way the math is starting to break down. Because once it hits that hard cap, it starts to do percentage reductions, and so even in his generation, it's going to start dropping off. So,
Well, having your own pension plan per se,
Exactly.
it's like having the trump card,
yep,
right?
yeah.
In
What-
your back pocket. Trump in your back
Yeah.
pocket.
There you go.
Well, at the end of the day, it's all about, like you said, being your own bank. It's self-reliance. It's
Exactly.
not counting
That's
on
one
the
thing I
government
wanna
to come
talk
through
about
for
is
you.
being your own bank.
I don't think anybody, well, I don't know, I guess I won't speak for everybody, but I know I don't feel comfortable relying on the government to be my backstop. So I think that's a dangerous place to be if you're counting on the government to be there for you. 60 years from now, who knows what things are going to look like 60 years from now?
Exactly.
We don't know what things are going to look like next week, let alone 60 years from now.
Right. You're right. You're
Yeah.
wise. You guys are wise behind your ears. I tell you.
I'm a ripe old 25 now. When I was 24, I was just a naive young boy. I'm 25.
Here's your ad.
Nice ad. Nice ad.
Howard the rock star now. Howard's on the radio.
So in this segment, let's talk about the IRA, but I also want to talk about
Money, 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 money.
Money, money, money.
So welcome back. We've been talking at the break, and what we were going to talk about is money. We want to talk a bit about, you had mentioned some the IRAs for people and stuff like
Correct.
that, IRAs. And money with Monet is, she's all about the money, right?
Absolutely.
Hi,
And
everybody.
then
Absolutely.
you at Colton are Cash with Colton.
Yes.
Or I even like the other one, Cash Back. I like that.
Colton
Back.
There you go.
Cashback.
There you go.
So, but why did you want to kind of name yourselves that, and why are you so excited about money right now?
Of course. Well, I'll just start off and again say that I'm just really excited to get into this because there's so many opportunities for people, young people, that they're unaware about. There's a couple stats here, and this is for just life insurance, but Gen Xers overestimate policy cost by 119%. So that's a lot. So, our generation is already going, we can't afford it. And then millennials misjudge policy costs by 213%. That's crazy. So, we're basically already writing ourselves off saying we can't afford policies or it's too much to start saving into an IRA. And that's just not true. And I'm sure that, maybe you've been to a lot of places that have told you it's too expensive or it doesn't work for you. But it's different at Bravo Insurance Agency. We have more carriers. We have a lot of plans that really fit your needs. I'm 22, Colton is 25, and we're completely covered. We have life insurance with living benefits that are extremely affordable, health insurance, IRAs. I mean, you would think we're in our 50s, but
Yeah.
we're not. And it's so affordable, and it's really affordable for anybody. So, Colton, if you want to add on that.
Yeah, no, and I think there's such a low barrier to entry. Like I said, for you, I think it's like $400 a year being a female, and for me, it's like $550 a year for $1 million in coverage, living benefits. And that's the living benefits to me. I think is so important, and I know that's a newer thing that almost no one has. And a lot of people even have life insurance. They might feel like they're covered, but you don't have living benefits. And to me, I think one of the worst things that can happen is you get critically injured and you don't die, and you actually almost wish you were dead because you've actually saddled your family with a bigger financial burden, unfortunately being alive with your terminal issue than otherwise. And that's actually a really sad place to be in. So the living benefits could potentially pay up, $750,000 if one of us was diagnosed with a late stage cancer or a major heart attack or something like that. And then with the IRAs, I mean, you can start with $100 a month. I think most people could put $100 a month aside. I mean, most people are spending that on, their coffee every day or, their lunch.
I was going to say, I think it's all about trade-offs, in life. So what do we want?
Absolutely.
What do we really, really want?
Yeah. What are our priorities?
What are our priorities?
Yeah.
What's important to us? And I'm one that's older that got my life insurance with benefits, living benefits when I was older, and it's still affordable. And to me,
it's
I
very
feel
affordable. Yes.
I think there's a myth. I mean, myths with Monet and no, but
Money
there's
with Monet.
Monet myths with Monet. But really, there are a lot of myths when it comes to this, and people don't understand that.
Right, the process is so simple. Some of our people don't even have to do an examination. It's non-medical.
Yeah.
Just simple questions to answer through me. So I fill out paperwork, submit it in, they review it, and they issue.
Right.
Okay, very simple.
And what the question that people want to know is that how fast, God forbid something does happen, how fast am I covered? And it's unbelievable. Go ahead.
Well, you're covered the day after you write the application and pay what your first premium. You're covered fully.
Right. So people don't realize that either. That's another myth. Lots of different myths that they have when it comes to getting life insurance, getting IRAs. There's a lot of myths there's a lot of different people. There's a lot of them, and that's why there's so
Right.
many different questions on that.
Well, if you look at an IRA, for example, at a local bank, they're paying you less than 1% interest rate. We're paying 5% on the first 8 years of deposits, plus what the market brings based on what you chose. That's very impressive.
Now, when you work with people, you work nationwide.
We do work nationwide, yes.
Nationwide, and both you all are involved with the group, so you work with them as well,
Absolutely.
the same way. Their phone number, it's 480-818-3665. Call them and have a conversation with them. It is free. To
Absolutely.
sit down and talk to you and find out kind of where you stand. I think that was the best thing that I ever did was to well, first of all, it was to call you and have you come on my show, because it ended up that with you blossom with almost everything, I have a feeling. But
Oh, thank you.
honestly, I mean, it was something that was a great call, and it wasn't really something that happened. I was listening to you talk, and I was thinking to myself, as a single mother, because that's another person, I might be also old, but I'm also a single mother as well,
Sure.
that I was really concerned about what I could do for my children, right? And that was another reason why I thought it was important.
Well, you not only helped yourself, but you created a legacy in case something does happen to you that
Right.
you pass away.
Right.
I want to just add one thing with, life insurance and what does living benefits really mean? And, like Colton mentioned, if you have, terminal cancer, if you become ill, if you can't do certain things, even if you're young, you don't want to ever put that burden on someone else. That's everybody's concern. If you don't have to put that burden on somebody, you don't want to. And with, this life insurance and the living benefits is, you never know what happens in life and you want to be prepared for that. But again, we can help you find the coverage that you need. So, if you can only afford $100,000 or $50,000, that's still more than nothing. And it could cost as little, this sounds crazy, but $10 to $11 a month. And that's just 2 cups of coffee.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, really. And so, if you're willing to maybe during the whole month not have an extra 2 cups of coffee, you can, as a young person, save your parents hundreds of thousands of dollars possibly. And that is such a big deal. Or, your new spouse. So, or, your future children or anything like that. You're really just protecting yourself and the people
And
around
you also
you.
help them relieve financial strain when the time comes for that kind of stuff.
Right.
Because that turns a lot of families against each other and also causes financial bankruptcies. as well.
Okay, so let me just tell you what I was thinking about when you were talking about this. So a lot of people, when it comes to insurance, think, well, I'm never going to need that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm never going to get sick. Like young people especially
Yeah.
think, oh, I'm never going to die. I mean, I've got so long to live.
Or it's like 40 years away. Why worry about it now?
Right,
Yeah.
right.
But
and-
accidents happen,
Exactly.
and we are born to die.
Yeah.
As soon as we're born, we start to die.
It doesn't matter how old you are. Anything can happen at some point in your life. We just never know.
Of course.
Right. I'm going to give an example. My father, who didn't have earthquake insurance, and for him, and I know we're just talking about something different, but it applies the same kind of way. He didn't have that, and he always said, "Well, I'm never going to need that. We're never going to have an earthquake that is going to be strong enough that I am going to, lose my house."
Okay.
Well, in 1994, we had the Northridge earthquake, and we all lost our homes.
Wow.
And he didn't have. Now we did. We were younger. We did have it.
Mhm.
I didn't even ask my father whether he had it beforehand. I just never even gave it a thought. and for that, what was it, $200, let's say, a month or whatever it was to cover him or whatever it was, I don't remember. Look what, and he was one payment away from owning his home. He had lost his entire house.
Wow.
And he I mean, things worked out. They worked out. But the fact is that it's the same kind of thing where you don't think something is going to happen, and then boom, something happens.
Well, like Howie says, we're here to help you when things go bad, make things go better.
Mm-hmm. And things can go bad.
Yeah, and for as low as, depending on what your needs are, depending on, your financial needs, it could be as low as $10. And if you want $1 million, it's gonna, we have $1 million, but at our age, I mean, I pay like $40 a month. It's literally, that's not a lot.
Yeah, and it's
for
for
that
me,
much
it's
coverage.
like $50 a month. And if you can't afford, and I know a lot of people can't afford to pay on a yearly basis, if you can, a lot of times you can chop 5 or 10% off your premium right there by paying on an annual basis, if you can afford to do that. If not, then $50 a month, which is very palatable to protect, your spouse, your parents, your future children from
right. We do want to bring up, there are people out there that can't afford anything. We know that. We understand that.
Right.
I want to
and we have
that.
plans for those people to help them out.
Well, see, there you go. Now, there's a thing that we've never talked about. So with you, because you have so many different carriers that you work with, you have a solution for almost anyone.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
And so, but we don't want to just think that
absolutely.
everybody.
Yeah.
But the fact is that most people, you are so right. Most people would rather have that. Oh boy, that Starbucks is really important to them.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm sure whatever it is with young folks too, that they have something that they would rather have rather than to sacrifice. And that, I think, was what your big point is.
Absolutely. And we could have, if we couldn't have afforded $1 million, we could have done 100,000. Correct me if I'm wrong, Javi, but I believe, once again, for somewhere around probably $10 a month or maybe even less, I could have gotten $100,000 in coverage, and probably even less for my wife. So, and that's still $100,000. That's at least going to cover, your death expenses and things like that. If you do unfortunately die, you're not going to saddle that.
The money
on your
be
parents.
very welcome by the family, of course.
I think too that's really important is for people to understand too. When you're young, you can start off with something one way, right? And then you can always change that as you're going along.
You can modify it as you go along.
Right.
Yes.
But more importantly, not only is Colton correct, we have plans and products that can fit the financial budget, but we have plans that can help people with their medical history. Because some people are not healthy, some people have issues, and we can still help all those people.
Right. It doesn't matter what your situation is. Honestly, the best thing to do is to have that conversation. It's a free conversation with them to sit down and find out where you might stand and feeling what peace of mind. I'll tell you, it really does give you a peace of mind.
Oh, yeah.
We're going to go to a break, and when we come back, we want to talk further a little bit about this. Tax time is coming up, so we want to talk about how you can help them with in terms of paying out money so that they don't have to pay too much money, right? Now, okay, so their phone number to call, it's 480-818-3665, and like he says, operators are always standing by.
Your video's off.
That's okay, we'll fix that.
They crash? Maybe it crashed.
It's been doing that, but usually it's because at the 30, I don't know why it stops, but then we'll redo it. This one's still going.
Okay.
Do we want to go a little bit more into the IRAs again on the next one? Just going to
And tax season,
Tax
really
season.
emphasizing that you can. I think as most people don't think that you can do that this year.
Right, for last year.
Yeah.
as long as it's
And $6,000 maximum for
Yep.
someone under 50,
Yeah.
5?
It's under 50. It's 55, right? Under 55. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
You want to look at it real quick, the age? I think it's about 55. 6,000 below.
I'm pretty sure it's 55. Yeah. And then it's 7 after 55, right?
Catch up.
You happy?
I'm very happy. How about you?
Very. How was that?
Yeah. Over. No, I think it's 50 actually.
50?
Let's see.
Okay.
20. Yeah, 50.
50, okay.
Yeah. 6,000 or 7,000 if you're
Many
in.
Texans are no longer in the dark, but they're still dealing
It was
with
5,500, 6,500 until last year.
CBS's Omar Villafranca spoke to a
Y'all got me sold.
Great. I brought some paperwork for you.
To be honest with you, I'm already covered. A bunch of products I'm
Will not cover everything.
I don't know. I think they offer insurance here.
Do they? I have to ask Bill.
I think so.
I'll have to ask Bill.
Health me. I don't know if they offer.
That wouldn't be bad though to talk about. Talk about the employer insurance and how that, but that's not guaranteed coverage because you are not going to work at the same place forever.
And
Well, yeah, I really want to talk about that, and then that will segue into,
Yeah.
you know, the plan.
Okay.
The health plan.
Do you want to talk a little bit kind of about like what your mom said about your dad and stuff like that?
That was more about her, wasn't it?
No, because she was talking about how she wished that when they were younger that they had not bought all of their life insurance
Oh,
through
yeah.
his employer because as soon
Yeah,
as he
I
quit,
get that,
he lost it all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And now he's 63, not 43.
Right.
Yeah.
Older and his health may have changed.
Yeah.
For dad.
Being able to
Yeah.
ramp up operations at this site as more vaccine becomes available will provide.
No, 'cause
another
especially
more
imagine like,
against COVID-19.
especially if you're someone
Change of
who's
clothes?
20 years old.
Yeah, I'm
Get
going
into
to this
business.
doctor's office, and I didn't want to have to be laying on that table in this thing, you know?
Oh, okay.
I don't normally do that ever here. I mean, I've never done it. But,
Makes sense though.
I just didn't, yeah, because I don't want to be uncomfortable, you
Right.
know?
Right.
Suicide murder in Sierra Vista.
Oh, nice. Full suicide murder. That's great.
With cancer.
It's a cheery topic. I hope they had life insurance.
Well, I hope it's past 2 years.
Yes. Yeah.
We were surprised that that was actually covered.
I'd always thought that
Years.
suicide was never covered, no matter how long. I was just
As
my
long as it's
assumption.
2 years. And
I never would have guessed that. When I learned that, I was like, "That's crazy."
Yeah.
That you can get a life insurance policy, and you're like, as long as I make it 2 years. That's so crazy to me.
I'm saving big.
Yeah, right. I'm like, that is
So
crazy.
you're covered if you
Commit
commit suicide?
After
Yeah,
2 years.
2
Yeah.
years. See, I think everyone assumes that it's never covered.
I know.
Well, you ought to do it, make sure you do it, because if you don't do it, they take you to jail for doing it.
Yeah.
But at least if you do it, you get the money, if somebody will
Well,
get
someone gets the money. You don't get the money.
And I feel like that's
Unless
probably
you fake
why,
your own
because
death, then you get the money,
people
you
who are
gotta
the
give someone else, yeah.
beneficiaries should get it. I think that has more to, if you think it from the beneficiary side of it,
Yeah.
that it's not their fault that the person committed suicide, therefore they should still be covered.
Right.
So that, I mean, from that standpoint.
If you watch Forensic Files, there's a lot of life insurance involved there.
Yeah, I'll bet.
On
I
TV.
cannot even imagine.
I mean, that's probably why people fake their own death. They'll like, how do you fake your own death? I'm like,
yeah,
oh, that
you go
makes
on
sense.
7 years.
There's a lot of
and
people that do
fake
it.
Yeah.
They go to Mexico, they go to Brazil. Live like a king after his mic kicks in.
That's true,
The
yeah.
stories that you've told me, just about everything you've experienced, I just can't believe it.
Oh my goodness. I think that's something I do.
Motorcycle. Perfect timing, IRS commercial.
So welcome back, everyone. We are talking about life insurance with living benefits. With benefits.
Yes.
I don't know what's wrong with me today, but we're also talking about money. We're talking about protecting ourselves.
Yeah.
Young, old, middle age. It doesn't really
Good
matter.
health, bad health.
Good health, bad health, it doesn't matter. With Bravo Insurance Agency, they have so many different carriers that they work with that they have so many different options for you that it's worth to have the free conversation with them to find out where you stand. And guess what? You'll have peace of mind. They work nationwide. Their phone number is 480-818-3665. Go ahead.
Before we get further into this, I want to do a shout out to one of our biggest fans out there, Jerry Farkas. She's ill at home.
Oh, sorry
and,
about that.
And
I
Howie's
know.
over there taking care of her right
Hi,
now.
Howie
so I
and
feel
Jerry.
sorry for her that Howie's helping her.
I
But-
hope. I hope, though, that she feels better soon.
I hope so too. We all miss her and wish her the best.
Yes,
So
yes.
the previous commercial on the break here was the IRS enrolled agent talking about taxes. What a nice segue to this, because IRA season's coming upon us right now. Taxes come up April 15th.
Yep.
And you can save on your 2020 taxes right now until the day you file. And Colton, you like that.
All you
part,
have to
don't
do is what?
I do. Yeah, all you have to do is if you open or contribute to an IRA before you file your 2020 taxes, you can put up to, if you're under 50, you can put in $6,000 now, and if you're over 50, you can contribute up to $7,000 per individual. So if you're married, your spouse could do the same thing on their side. And so, what we're going to be doing is, my wife actually already has an IRA. She beat me to it by about 6 months, but I'm going to be opening one as well, maybe a couple. But with the traditional IRA, I can put $6,000 and she can put $6,000 in. So basically, filing jointly, we can essentially shelter $12,000 from income tax and self-employment tax this time around. And with this program, it's going to be matched 5% the day it goes into the account, and then it's also beyond the threshold going to get the market rate on, we'll probably pick the S&P, but whatever you want to pick is your benchmark.
One thing that I have to mention, and it's something that Bravo told me, before we started working with them, and it was the option of you can be your own bank.
Yeah.
And that idea, people have no clue what it means. Because
Tell them what it means.
We don't know about it. And really, it's funding yourself. And again, there are so many plans that, and I was a business management major, and I had a minor in econ and finance. But I didn't know about anything that Bravo was showing me, which is so fascinating.
You don't learn this in school no matter.
You don't learn this in school, even with a finance degree, about all the options that are out there to help you to be your own bank through annuities, through life insurance. And when you hear these things, you don't think about them as a bank, but they can be. And also with an IRA. Now, normally people wait and it's more of a, retirement investment, which it is. But someday you can pull from that. And, if you start young, the younger you start, the better, because that money just compounds. But, with us putting just that simple $6,000 in now, yes, we're trying to shelter from tax. But by the time we retire, what that will be someday is really exponential.
And it's both. So you're saving in on the front end with the taxes. You're getting a bonus when you move it in. You're protected from the IRS. And you are starting to save for your retirement, which is always a good thing to do young. Because the younger you start saving, if anyone's ever seen the exponential curve on savings, the younger you start saving, the more it's worth. If you start saving at like 30, compared to 20, at 20 you'll have like 4 times as much money than if you started saving at 30. The curve is absolutely exponential. And to be fair, you don't also have to have $6,000. We'll probably max out our contributions, but you don't have to. You could do $100 a month. You could do, I believe, at $1,200, Havie, you don't have to contribute anymore. If you only want to do $1,200, you don't even have to make monthly contributions.
That is correct. After you reach your $1,200 threshold, you can put little or more if you want.
Right.
Up to the IRS
Yeah.
limits.
So once again, you don't have to be able to max fund these things. You don't have to have the max financial leverage to get into these products and to start contributing to them, to start saving for your future, to start saving on your taxes
They're
now.
so flexible. And again, for young people, like you were talking about, Carol, the myths with all of this that, I was even susceptible to, that this is difficult. But I took a leap of faith and said, well, let's just see what we can do. And then with Bravo, I realized it was so much easier than I even thought it was going to be, and so much cheaper as well.
I think that what you said is, let me see what I can do, is what you said. Let me see what I can do. And the only way you're going to be able to know that is by having that conversation with them.
Absolutely.
And seeing what they have to offer. Yeah. And it's a plethora of different products that you have, different people that you work with. So it doesn't really matter what your situation is, they can probably help you.
Yeah, and having that conversation with us, myself or Howard, doesn't cost you anything.
Right.
It's free consultation, and we evaluate your situation, analyze what you need, and provide you a solution.
And you're not pushy in any way, shape, or form. It's not about that. You just want to. You're out there to help people.
We are.
And I find that to be the truth about you completely. Is that you're just.
Thank you.
And I love the way that you found out so much about me. And you remember every little thing too. But honestly, that you really took the time to get to know me, because everybody does have a very different situation. Have you felt that COVID has affected you in maybe even a better way, because people are afraid and now they're looking at the world and saying, you know what, I need to make sure I am taken care of, so that I'm taking care of my loved ones?
Well, absolutely, you're right. 2020 with the COVID virus has really actually made us much busier because people are seeing death on TV, hearing on the radio. The unknown is very fearful.
Yeah.
And we've been very, very busy, and that's why we've expanded. And even 2021's turned out to be just as busy.
Right, and I feel that when you've decided to expand it to have the younger folks work with you too, to reach the people that you can't be there for everybody, right? You can't. So it's really cool that you have brought these young folks into your organization,
right,
to reach out to the young folks, and that's what we're listening. Listen, you might be older right now. You might have children, grandchildren that you're listening right now. They would love to sit down and talk to you and just have that conversation with you and show them what's happening to them.
Absolutely.
So, if they can do it, anyone can do it.
And I think that's the important point, is that there's literally nothing we're talking about here on the show or anywhere else with any client that isn't something that we don't have ourselves or don't fully believe in.
Right.
Like, these are all products that we absolutely believe in, that we have to protect ourselves, that we're either invested in or contributing to or have opened up. And I think that's important. I think people want to know that the product they're potentially going to be purchasing is something that the people who are selling it to them believe in and have themselves. And we absolutely do.
Their phone number is 480-818-3665. I want to go into some of the other things, too, that's important for people to know that are listening, the questions that they ask. They want to know, am I going to have to take an exam? Are they going to have to take my blood? Because that was a big thing for a while there.
Right.
Explain how it works.
Well, most of the carriers right now, because of COVID, are going non-medical, just asking some medical questions, maybe doing a telephone interview, and doing a background check regarding your driving record, prescription record, and doing what they call LexisNexis, which is like a financial social media kind of check on you, and leave it at that. And they'll come back with an offer. Okay?
And it's usually surprisingly affordable, right?
Affordable and very fair.
Yeah,
okay?
very fair.
Now, if there's questions, they'll ask you some more details, or maybe they will ask you for an exam because maybe your labs came back different from your doctor's office report. But not very intrusive at all. Very, very nice.
Well, so what else should we talk about today?
Yeah, well, I would like to, again, talk a little bit more about life insurance and just an experience that I think a lot of people are faced with but don't know about. And it's if you work with a corporation, you think that you have a life insurance policy and you're paying into that. You start young. Let's say you start working at a corporation when you're 30 and you're there for 15 years. Now you're, 45, but you get fired or laid off or you want to move to a different place. You lose that policy. And you lose all the money you've paid into that. And so that's why it's good to just, even if people say, well, I'm covered. Well, that's great. And it's good while you're working there. But life changes. Things happen. What if you want to open your own business, and expand? That changes everything. So, I recommend, even if you say, well, I think I'm covered, have a free consultation with us, with Bravo, because who knows, you might actually get better coverage. It might be cheaper. And you'll be able to take it with you anywhere you go.
Because you own it yourself.
Well, see, it's a big point that you make because a lot of people have lost their jobs this year, or that last year, I should say that. And it's still continuing,
Right.
And people will need to realize no matter what, you need to be covered and you need to, maybe you don't have that Starbucks this week or next week, and for two of them, or $10 a month, you said? I mean, really, some of this stuff is incredibly affordable, giving you peace of mind. We're going to go to a break, and when we come back, we are going to talk a little bit further. You can call them again. They do free consultations. Their phone number is 480-818-3665.
That's very good.
So we're still live in here, so you can keep on talking as
well. You
far as-
mentioned people losing their jobs. The jobless rate went up again. 881,000 people lost their jobs last month.
Yeah.
Those people need the health insurance or the life insurance.
And that's what I want to talk about next.
We'll do that next.
Is if you lost your job, you can still be covered.
Yeah, without Cobra. Cobra costs much more.
Yeah. Well, and I think also, I feel like most people assume that employer-based coverage is the cheapest coverage that they could possibly get, and I think that's often not correct at all. That's not even true. And
the employer's paying part of it.
Yeah.
So when you get the full bill, wow, what happened?
Yeah.
I thought I was paying $400 a month.
Exactly.
No, it's $1,800
yeah,
a month.
in a lot of cases, it's not even that good. I know a lot of people who have gone through, especially I know we're not talking about car insurance, but with car insurance, I see a lot of people where they get an offer from the company that their corporation, and it's twice as much as what they could get from something else. Like you said, now it might be subsidized by the employer, but the day you're not working for the employer is the day you either have to start paying double or you lose it or whatever it is.
Right.
And so I think,
And you're older.
And you're older.
Maybe you have a health problem at that point now.
Yep.
That you didn't have when you started working there.
Yeah. And you're well, I'm fine because, at least I got my insurance before I had the pre-existing condition. Yeah, but if you lose that insurance that you got before you had the pre-existing condition, you're starting all over.
Right.
Yeah, I think a lot of people don't think about that.
Aren't they amazing? They are. They sound like seasoned veterans.
We've been studying hard. Yeah, right. Learn from the best. It's so fun. When we go through our course, like 75% of what we're going through in the course, we're like, well, we've already learned this. This is great.
That's great.
We already learned it all.
That's great.
How long does the process take?
To be licensed. The course, it depends. I mean, it's at your own pace, but
I mean, I would say theoretically, it's probably a
what do you think, 20 to 30 hour course?
Oh, that's
no.
not that long.
I would think if you actually like did it and you didn't have any prior knowledge, I think it'd probably take you at least 100 hours. I think if you run through it the way they want you to go through it, if you watched every single video, read every single page, I think so. I think it'd take about.
But we
But it's
did
thorough.
but we did 3 weeks of 2 days a week
Yeah.
training at my office,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and we covered a lot of stuff.
Yeah, we did. And honestly, that's to me, that's a more fun way to learn. Anyways, I picked that up better. Like we're learning fine with the course, but the way we learn, being able to ask questions and stuff like that.
Right.
That's one thing about the course. Like if you have a clarifying question, you can't just be like, well, here, let me ask my clarifying question about this thing in the course. You just have to be like, all right, well,
Yeah.
I learned what I learned, and so like we actually have a notebook
Do you do that
somewhere.
ongoing with other people as well, or just?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
For new agents, yeah.
We actually have a couple of questions written down. I think we forgot it at home. They're like clarifying questions to ask you
Okay.
that we had in the course, just to clarify
okay.
on some
Yeah.
certain things about like life insurance.
We go way into depth too. I think we overthink a lot of the things
That's
on
okay
there
though.
too.
I like that. That way you know it very well that
Yeah.
way.
Before we went to a break, we were talking about people who lost their jobs and how when they lose their jobs, now all of a sudden they've lost their health insurance. Lots of other things they might have lost as well. So we wanted to talk a bit about that and where you come in with that. Monet, go ahead.
Yeah. Well, I'm so excited to talk about this next product, and it's a health insurance. And I'm sure anyone listening knows how expensive health insurance can be.
Oh, yeah.
Even if you're getting it through, where you're working, corporate America, it's still expensive. And then it's really, really expensive if you change jobs or if you get laid off, because then you realize it's triple. And so, talking about myths earlier in the show, is that it's cheaper to get all different types of coverage through your work. Sometimes it's not, and sometimes you should also be covered elsewhere. But in regards to this product, this is amazing because it can be for small business owners, people who, are struggling with some type of ailment and they don't think that they're going to get covered. And it's guaranteed acceptance, and it's through Obamacare. We have a bronze and silver plan. One rate for all ages. That's amazing.
and all medical conditions.
And guaranteed acceptance.
Yeah.
I mean, this is almost unheard of. And everything that you're hearing is true. And again, zero copay, zero deductible, and we can help you. I think, again, there's a lot of myths going around. I can't get coverage. I have a pre-existing condition. What am I going to do? It's unaffordable. It's going to be thousands of dollars. This plan is really incredible. And if you're pregnant, that's all covered. If you become pregnant, all covered.
Yeah.
This stuff is really incredible for those people, again, who don't think that they can be covered. Again, guaranteed acceptance, one rate for all ages, and you can enroll 365 days a year. That's a big deal now, because most people are like, well, I'm going to have to wait a couple months, or I'm going to have to wait a year.
Yeah. Normally there's that enrollment window at the end of the year.
Enrollment window.
Yeah.
So if you're struggling and you need health insurance now, we can do that for you. And the effective date is always the first of the following month. So it's an amazing plan.
Again, this is where you can have that conversation with you, free consultation, and find out how they can help. It doesn't matter where you are in your life, no matter what area, what you're dealing with. If it's something that you even catastrophic, it's okay. They can talk to you, find out how they can help you, because that's where Bravo comes in, right?
That's right.
It's
You
all
better
about
call
that.
Bravo.
You better call Bravo.
480-818-3665.
And operators are?
Standing by.
Yes. I'm just so excited to be able to offer this to people, again, who think that they can't get health coverage, because that is very scary.
Oh, absolutely.
And children are included. If you have a child and you want them to be covered, they can be covered on this plan as well. I know that, before we started working with Havie and Howie, we really came to them for life insurance. But then we started going through all of our needs, and we realized, oh my gosh, you can help us with this aspect, especially with Colton. I mean, he had the Christian Healthcare Ministries plan, and it's really a share, but it's not full coverage. It's not a real, but that is...
It's not technically insurance.
It's not technically insurance, and we would love to have that. So we found out, that there are all these amazing plans, one just like this, and you can be covered.
And
And it's much more affordable than you would think.
And also, the reason I thought that was as good as it got, the whole reason I ended up with that in the first place was that when I moved out at, 21, and it was time to get my own health insurance, I was going to be basically kicked off my dad's plan, and I hit the open Obamacare market, which is what I thought my only option was at the time. And I think for like $10,000 deductible catastrophic coverage, I was looking at like $400 a month, and I was like, there's no way I'm paying that. I'm either going to not have health insurance, which is what a lot of young people choose to do, big mistake, number one, or I'm going to go do this other option, and I ended up with this health sharing situation. Apparently, just like because, Bravo Insurance Agency has all of these carriers and all these options that you generally just don't know about, I ended up with my health insurance, I want to say it's like $115 a month. It's better coverage than even I had under the health sharing, except now it's actual insurance, and I know for sure it's going to pay out if I need it. And it's a far cry from $400 a month. Now, yes, I'm young, I'm healthy, and not everyone can get that. And that's why we have something like the Select Med Bronze and Silver plan. Imagine being 55, let's say you've had a couple of heart attacks and you just got fired, $580 a month.
A couple of heart attacks, so hope not.
Hopefully not, but some people have, or maybe they've, something's happened, they got sick, or maybe they've gotten diabetes since they've worked at their job and had their employer health insurance, and now they just got laid off. Havie mentioned during the break, unemployment's actually going back up.
Yeah, unemployment with the 881,000 people last week.
Yeah, so those 881,000 people might not be in the same medical condition they were when they started their job.
And
they had a heart attack when they lost their job.
Absolutely, yeah, and that does happen.
It does.
But the thing that people think is, what are my options? When I lost my job, I have COBRA. Well, COBRA, yes, if your employer had 20 or more employees, yes, there's COBRA benefits available to you, usually at 2 or 3 times the current rate that you were paying. Plus, it's only good for 18 months.
Right, I was going to say, it's only a certain amount of time.
Right.
Right.
So this is a better option, better plan, nationwide coverage, flat rate for male or female, for smoker, non-smoker, flat rate, guaranteed acceptance. You can't beat that.
I want people to understand, too, something that's very important that they don't know. I'm sure they don't, because I didn't when my daughter was out of the state, okay? That when you have health insurance, it doesn't mean that it travels to every state. Is that correct?
That is correct.
And so people need to understand that, and usually it happens when now all of a sudden their son or daughters, they're out of state and something, God forbid, happened, and now it's like, oh my God, well, what do I do?
You're absolutely correct, because what your daughter had, if I may, I don't know exactly, but you had a Obamacare related, which is HMO, which is regional. So state of Arizona. If you go out of state, let's say you go to New York, you're not covered there because they don't have a regional network there.
Right.
This plan that we have here is a PPO, nationwide. You can pick doctors in any state, and they're on it.
And the other things that you mentioned there was with what you were so excited about the one that you have 0 deductibles. What was that again? I want to mention that.
Yeah, 0 deductible, 0 copay for telemedicine. I actually have used telemedicine a lot recently with COVID. A lot of urgent cares are actually closed.
Including the ones who claim they're 24/7, 365.
You
They're not
never
right
know.
now.
Everything's different right now, and we really do need to be covered. Everyone is really scared about their health right now. And so, again, if you lost your job because of COVID, if you have pre-existing conditions, which is the biggest issue for people, they're so scared, I'm going to have to pay thousands of dollars a month because of my pre-existing conditions. Right. You're actually going to be covered at a flat rate fee, no matter what your pre-existing conditions are. And that is just so amazing. Or even if you're young and something has happened.
Sure.
And the fact that through your entire pregnancy you can be covered if you're, an expecting mother, that is incredible. And these are things that are not out there that you can just find alone, and that's why I'm so excited to be able to offer this to people, because I think it's going to be a real surprise.
Yeah.
Well, you better call Bravo, because that's how you can find out about all of these different products that they're talking about. Their phone number, it's 480-818-3665. It's a free conversation for you to find out and maybe get some real great peace of mind.
And Carol, don't forget, we are also COVID ready to help you. If we want to do a conversation over the phone or by Zoom, we can do that. Actually, we can actually enroll you for this plan by sending you a simple link to your email, and it'll help you do it over the phone on the link.
So many different ways that you can help people. Some people do have questions, though.
Absolutely.
I know for me, I always like to have somebody I can talk to,
right.
Especially, and you're always there for people in case they need anything. So we're almost done with the segment. What else should we talk about?
Well, I just think, just maybe briefly, I just want to touch on, even with the Select Med, and even if you're thinking, well, maybe that's still just a little bit too expensive for me. Well, nothing's more expensive than going to a hospital or having a medical condition and not having insurance. Anyone who's ever spent a night in the hospital knows it costs more money to spend a night in the hospital than you'll probably ever make in your lifetime.
I think an aspirin is like $550,000.
Yeah, it's something like that. If they look at you, it's $5,000.
Well, Colton, you do realize that medical expenses are the number one cause of bankruptcy.
Oh, absolutely. And 500 whatever dollars a month, maybe $1,000 if it's you and your spouse, is nothing compared to literally potentially losing everything in a medical bankruptcy because your appendix went on you and you had to get your appendix out, and now it's $560,000 is the bill. I actually think that's pretty close to what my father's bill was when he had his appendix out. Now he had insurance, thank God. If he didn't, that would have been the end of that. He would have had to declare bankruptcy, and it would have been a life-ruining event.
Well, ruining you financially and your credit score. You can't get a home, a car at a decent rate.
And that would have just been him. Surely it would have affected, me, our family. It's that just grows out from there.
Yeah, the trickle-down effect of your financials.
Absolutely.
Problems, yeah.
So health insurance is basically for everyone. We should all be covered, absolutely, for sure.
Yes.
And also, when we're talking about life insurance right now, life insurance is not just for the older folks. It's really for the young. It's best off, obviously, when you're younger to start this. But I know I can say for myself, I know for what I did, what I just did it last year, and I'm already older, so I know that it was affordable. It was affordable, and it's worth it to me to cut in one area, so rob Peter to pay Paul kind of thing. But it was okay because I knew that I was doing something good for my family,
well,
my children.
It's good for your family, but also for yourself. It gives you peace of mind in case you need care that your kids, your children cannot provide for you. You had to hire somebody else. You have the money to do it with the living benefits.
And that's even a good point. What if maybe you're single, you're like, I don't have a single relative in the world, no kids, no spouse, it's just me. You still want living benefits because now you're sick and you can't work. How are you going to pay your own mortgage? You need the living benefits. You could have no family in the world, the living benefits are still going to help you.
Make yourself homeless if you don't have this.
Yeah. I agree 100%. I know that there's a lot of people out there when they think, well, I don't have family and I don't have it. Well, no, there's always a reason for you to get coverage, and you'll be very surprised as how much it really does end up costing. It's so affordable. Also, we want people to understand tax time is around the corner.
Yes,
there
coming
are
up.
things that you can do to now get yourself tax credits so that you can save yourself some money for tax.
Reduce that tax liability.
That's right. And our next show with Monet and Colton will also address the taxes more so.
Well, I'll tell you, but guys, it's all about protecting yourself, but also leaving a legacy, leaving something for the family. And God forbid something does happen to anybody.
Yeah.
We don't want anything to happen, but we know we live in a world that anything can happen to anyone at any time, at any age. You want to give them a call. They are free consultation. You can work with the young folks, you can work with the middle-aged folks, and then you can also work with the old folks. Hi, Howie, if you're listening, because I always kind of joke around because he's the oldest of the group. But they're wonderful. They're wonderful to work with, and they're a lot of fun too. Their phone number to call, it's 480-818-3665. Operators are standing by. Call Bravo. They have something to help you with.